Hello. Today we'll be learning about a very interesting topic, historical method and historiography. I am Usha, an engineer turned historian, and I'll be guiding you through this very interesting topic called historiography. For those of you who are unaware what is historiography, historiography is nothing but the history of history. History is itself history. The history of history is historiography. So what are the four sections of historiography? It's history, research, historiography, and Indian historiography. So in these four sections, we will try to cover the entire topic of historiography. So in the section of history, what are we going to cover? We are going to cover the meaning of history. So what is the meaning of history? History is it just a recitation of past events? Is it just a story? Is it just a philosophy? Or is it science? So all these definitions and meaning we learn in the meaning and definitions of history. Next, we look into the nature and scope of history. So history is a very vast subject. What is its nature? Is it very dull and boring? Is it just representation of facts? Or is it, can it predict future? Or can it tell what is right and what is wrong? So what exactly is the nature of history? In the scope of history, we will see whether history is independent or whether history is dependent on science, history is dependent on politics, whether history is dependent on other subjects like economics, geography. So we'll be looking into all these in the nature and the scope of the history. In the kinds of history, we will look into the different kinds of history. Did you know there were different kinds of history? So you thought history is only one subject? Then you are wrong. There is political history, there is economic history, there is intellectual history, there is diplomatic history. So there are different kinds of history. Then we look into the aims and uses of history. We'll also look into history and social sciences and history's relationship with other branches of science. It could be cryptography, it could be paleography, it could be archaeology, it could be anthropology, it could be geography, it could be political science, it could be economics, it could be psychology. So all that we will look into this. There is always a common question with the scholars. Is history a science or history is art? Do you require imagination and, to make it interesting? Do you require fine, fancy words to make history interesting? Or should history be only representation of true facts? So that's a debate, and that is what we cover under history is art or science. In the next section, that is research, we look into who is a researcher, what are the topics he can select. Can you be a researcher? Do you have the right aptitude and attitude to become a researcher? If you are a researcher, what are you going to do? That will be covered under criticism. See, as a researcher, you will have plenty of sources. You definitely require sources for writing and researching history, right? So the sources can be stone inscriptions, it can be copper plates, it can be documents. So you have to kind of analyze the sources. You can't simply take a source because it's written in some old, script or old language, and then it may be false. The document may be false. So every source that you take up for your research should be analyzed, should be criticized, you need to find out whether it is true or false. So all that will come under criticism. Then objectivity. So let's say I am writing history or I'm researching about history and I like Ashoka. So I start writing Ashoka is great, Ashoka is so-and-so and all. So am I being objective? And suppose you start writing history and you suddenly like the Mughals, or you might like the some other Ganga kings or Chola kings, and you might start writing about from their perspective. Nothing wrong in that. But when we write and research history, there is certain amount of certain thing called being objective. So that we cover under objectivity. We also look into something called constructive reasoning. So when we get all the sources, you can't simply use those sources. You have to kind of arrange the sources one after another. So how do you arrange these sources? And what type of reasoning do you use? If there are gaps, what do you do? So all that kind is covered in constructive reasoning and generalization. So basically the research topic is all about doing research, proper method of doing research, proper method of understanding, analyzing, criticizing, writing history. Okay. The third section is historiography. So I told you historiography is nothing but the history of history. So how was history written in different countries like Greece or Rome, or during the Christian era, how was it written? What was the contribution of Arabs? So all that we'll be learning under Greek, Roman, Christian, Arab. We'll also look into historiography during Enlightenment period, during Romantic period, during the Positivist period. Obviously, these different time periods made some impact on history. Right. So what was there in the ancient period would be different during the Industrial Revolution. What was the kind of history written during Industrial Revolution could be different during imperialism and British period. So during the conquest period. So we study historiography in different time periods also. Then we look into, that is what is covered under Enlightenment, Romantic and Positivist. Then we look into different historiographers like Hegel, Comte, Ranke, Marx. What were their perspectives on history? What did they write and how did they look at things? So all that we'll be studying under different historiographers, be it Voltaire, Hegel, Comte, Ranke, Marx, Spengler, Toynbee. So in the fourth and the final section, Indian historiography, we're looking into the historiography in the Indian period. So what did Indians contribute to historiography? How was it during the ancient period? How was it during the medieval period? How was it during the modern period? That is what we cover under ancient, medieval and modern. Then we also look into Indian historians. So far we have learned about Marx, we have learned about British scholars who have come and wrote books on books about the history of India, history of Indian subcontinent, British in India, everything they have written. What about Indian historians? Was there any contribution of the Indian historians during the Indian era? That we look into the historian section. So now you have got a comprehensive view of historiography. These are the sections we'll be covering. So keep subscribing to this channel, keep looking out for more videos. Let's hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.